These are three covered call income ETF that I'm considering for my portfolio for July 2026. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tony. Me and my wife retired off our income portfolio about 2 years ago in our mid-30s, and we have been documenting our retirement progress and investing ever since. So follow for more if you're interested. So before we get into the video, I just want to keep in mind that these are ETF that I'm considering for my own personal needs and just sharing my thought on them. Our risk profile and needs may differ. And then with no further ado, let's get into the video. The first ETF we're going to be looking at today is HYOD by Hamilton. The yield is sitting at about decent 12%. And then for those of you not familiar, HYOD is basically like a broader US cover call ETF with 25% leverage on top. It has a pretty good mix of sector with information technology, financial, healthcare, and other services kind of mixed in there as well. One nice thing about HYOD is that they're pretty vertically integrated. So basically, Hamiltons are holding a bunch of their own ETF within HYOD. So this helps save a lot of fee for us retail buyer. HYOD's fee is sitting at 0%, but also subject to a lot of fee within the underlying ETF that the fund hold. It's been out for about 4 years, which in the grand scheme of cover call universe is actually quite long. Though in the grand scheme of the financial stock market thing, 4 years is barely a blip, right? But so far it's been doing well. It's been paying pretty consistently ever since the inception. The nice things about HYOD is that the managements are pretty receptive to the market time. So basically, they do reduce the distribution during the bad time and also increase during good time to keep the NAV fairly sustainable and try to smooth out the ride as much as possible. One critique I have about HYOD is that I believe that they are a little bit aggressive in the increasing schedule. Personally, I prefer them to keep it a little bit more mellow out a little bit. I don't mind them increasing a good time, and I like that they decrease in a bad time, but I do think that the increasing schedule is slightly on the aggressive side. As you can see in the past few months, they do increasing pretty consistently every month. Because I'm still young, I do want some of the income to be kind of like, grow the NAV as well as paying out a decent yield. So this part I'm still kind of iffy about. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. So basically that is HYOD. Another thing is which HYOD is that the fee is also quite high. And I understand that a lot of these are coming from the leverage that they use. That's why the MER is a little bit higher. The trading expense ratios is in the only 0.1%, which is quite understandable because, with cover call, you can be a little more active in the market, which can result in a little bit higher TER. 1.97, but keep in mind that this is as of July 2025. They haven't updated the new one just yet, so this one might be outdated. So right now, it could be a little bit higher, it could be a little bit lower. We don't know yet. In terms of performance, HYOD does perform quite well against the underlying VFV, especially in the past year. HYOD actually outperformed VFV by quite a decent amount. And if you follow my other series about income drawdowns data that I've been collecting for the past 2.5 years, if you follow along, you know that I actually thought HYOD would perform a lot worse than it did. But in reality, HYOD actually performed a lot better. It actually beat out VFV by quite a decent amount, and also almost kind of like match on par with XQT so far since the inception of my data collection. And next on the list is TXF by CI Global Asset Management. I don't see too many people talking about CI. I think because they don't spend as much in the marketing part where try to get people to talk about their ETF. The nice thing about CI is that it's actually one of the longest running income ETF, which I think they have about 12 to 14 years of track record, which in this sector is considered like a great grandfather pretty much. And I know that some of you might laugh and say, oh, 12 years is not that long, but this is, for this sector, 12 years is like forever, right? And it shows that they have survived to, like a 2020 COVID crash, 2017 oil crisis, 2025 Liberation Day, 2023, like a rate hike cycle. And then so far it coming out on top and then doing quite well. So for those you're not familiar, TXF is basically a tech giant cover call ETF. They're collecting a top 25 tech company, and then they sell cover call on it. No leverage, management fee only 0.65. The different strategy for this one is that they do 25 big tech company, and then they do equal weighting. Aside from there's not too many ETF that does this strategy. A lot of them to do more market cap weighted because a lot of the bigger guys, they do have better premium. But TXF do equal weight and then they rebalance. I think like maybe twice a year to kind of make sure that everything's back to normal. You can see that right now they heavier weighted in the Intel, AMD, and Micron, but those one have a run recently. That's why the weighting increased quite a bit. So why do I consider equal weight right now? Because of the recent AI boom, there's a lot of new sector that's emerging out of I don't want to say nowhere, but emerging out of nowhere, and a lot of sector that probably gonna be that we don't think of that's probably gonna come out of the woodwork and start growing like crazy as well. So if you're doing a market cap weighted, you're going to be very concentrated on the Max 7, the Nvidia, the bigger guys, and that's okay too. In the past, the Max 7 does shown to have outperformed the rest of the market. However, going forward, we don't know how things going to be. We see like a big rise of Intel, AMD, Micron, and a bunch of smaller guys that really, really crazily outperform the big guys. And could that happen again? Maybe. So TXF is somewhat of a you want to still be in the market, but you want to kind of diversify out a little bit more from the big guys, and this one allow you to capture a bit more of that upside from the smaller guys. And then I hate saying smaller guys because technically these are still like a giant tech company, but like a smaller guys compared to the top Max 7. And you can see this by the recent return. TXF actually outperformed QQC, which is a Nasdaq benchmark, by quite a bit because this year we have a crazy run up of other tech outside of Max 7, like Micron, AMD, Intel, and all these things. And you can see that the performance are starting to diverge. It's outperforming QQC by quite a bit. Of course, with cover call, it's still kind of capping the upside because we are trading that for an income. But so far this year, TXF has doing well. I wouldn't consider to go full port on TXF, but I think that it's a good diversify of strategy that I'm planning to consider part of my portfolio. I used to be quite heavy in TXF, but exited about a year, 2 years ago to try to be more heavily market cap weighted, which has done well for me in the past. But going forward with the new AI era, I'm considering this one quite a bit. And the fee is quite reasonable. It's quite high in the ETF grand scheme of things, but for among the heavy, more actively managed ETF, TXF actually quite reasonable, sitting at about 0.77% with the trading expense ratio only 0.06. So overall, a lot lower than a lot of things that we talk about or we probably going to be seeing in his field. So yeah, that's TXF for you. And the last one we're going to be looking at today is going to be QDay. QDay is fairly new. They're coming in, take the world by the storm. It's basically Hamilton Enhanced Technology Daymax ETF from the Day series. The distribution right now is sitting at close to 20%. They are paying 2 times a month, which is some people really like that. The yield is sitting at quite high at 20%. So what makes QDay special is that they're running a 0-day to end operation options strategy over here for cover call with a 25% modest leverage. So what makes this so special? If you follow Wall Street Bet, you probably know that zero day to expiration options are extremely dangerous. But we're not talking about buying option here, right? QDay is basically selling option that expire the day off. So I want to get into a little bit of like a data that I've been collecting, and there is so many data of like this, but I just want to pick out a few one and show it to you. So this is the data that people have been collecting that shows that a lot of market movement actually happen after market. If you can see here, basically, this is their nice strategy, right? Nice strategy. The blue line here is how much the stock move if you only consider the after hour movement. So you can see the blue line here actually performed quite well. The green line is basically like just the normal, right? Consider aftermarket. Imagine you just buy S&P 500 and just hold it and just don't worry about anything else. That's the green line. The blue line is just if you only you sell at close. Sorry, you only consider the movement of the aftermarket, and the orange line is if you only consider the movement within the market time. I know it's a little bit confusing, but this is what QDay is trying to do, right? QDay is trying to be able to ignore the orange line and capturing the blue line only. So the cover call strategy, they basically selling cover call right at open. So based on this data piece over here, the market doesn't move too much during the daytime. So in theory, you should be able to lose too much on the upside because there's not much upside to lose during the daytime because a lot of them happen after market. So that's what QDA trying to do. Sell cover call at the beginning of the market, close it by the end of the market, let the stock rise after market, capture that premium. So Q days is quite new. There's a lot of piece of data here that I have it here as well. Regular hour, outside market hour. So basically, the two pieces of data is about the same. So back to Q day. So I think the data is there to show that Q day could work. The fund is quite new. We don't know how it's going to go just yet, but so far it's been doing well. But again, the market has been also doing quite well. So it's kind of hard to say how this one would perform. But I like that Q-Day is trying to be different. So in terms of diversifying strategy, I think Q-Day might deserve a place in my portfolio. I do think that because they're paying so much, I think they're paying at about 20%. They're paying something like some crazy amount, 20% like that. It does tie them. It makes them noticeable to a lot of income investor because that's a pretty big deal, but it also set them up to fail if the market is not performing well for the next few years. If the strategy doesn't work, the 20% is going to be their downfall as well. I'm not saying they're going to fail. I'm just saying that they're setting the bar quite high to be able to achieve that. Because in the end of the day, to be able to pay out 20% without losing NAV, your total return of the fund still need to be over 20%. And the fee is sitting at a 0.85. Unfortunately, we don't have the MER information just yet because the fund is quite new. Usually you have to wait for the whole year for them to have a document showing how much the fee is going to be. I'm expecting this one is going to be quite high because not only because they had the leverage 25%, because of the by design they trade every day, the trading expense ratio is going to be quite high as well. So we might see some crazy number on the fee here. I suspect it's going to be over 2.5%, but we don't know yet. They're holding everything kind of equal weighting, so I don't really I'm okay with that because like I said, we are looking to diversify a strategy here. In terms of performance, QDay kind of killed it. They beat out QQC by quite a bit. And then, but I know this is barely, not even a year of information. I mean, actually just about a year information right now. So yeah, that's QDay for you. These are the 3 ETF that I'm considering. This video is a bit different than what I normally make. I just kind of want to branch out a little bit. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel about these picks. If you have any feedback, anything you'd like to see, let me know. And yep, that's it for today. Thank you.